Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes. This definitely isn't my second time recording this video because I didn't plug in my mic. And before you get into today's video, I just wanted to ask if you're enjoying the content, please hit subscribe. Hit 1,000 subscribers recently, moving to our next goal, and I'd love for you guys to be there for the ride with me. It's been absolutely awesome to get to this point already. But let's jump straight to this video. So we're starting with updates on guys that we've been talking about this week, some important guys that we've mentioned, and people for the Giants as well who are going to be out. So one of the practices this week, the Lions actually held a walkthrough instead of practice. They provided a lengthy estimated injury report. Detroit listed cornerback Terrion Arnold with that concussion still, safety Brian Branch with a toe injury, left tackle Taylor Decker with a shoulder injury, safety Kirby Joseph with a knee, who is now apparently expected to miss 2 more games, which, that sucks, and right tackle Penei Sewell with an ankle as non-participants in that practice. Lions coach Dan Campbell says Arnold remains to be day-to-day because of the concussion protocol he's in, and he's unable to practice at this time. But thankfully, he feels good about Brian Branch's status for this week when they were talking about the team's walkthrough. That's scary because I thought for a second the toe injury, maybe he has turf toe. We saw what's happening with Joe Burrow right now. That would definitely be a huge hit, especially when we're already out our one safety. Now, people who are limited at practice includes guys like Isaac Tesla, Grim Glasgow, Tate Ratledge, as well as DJ Reed, who is still working on that hamstring injury, but has been getting in reps and should be returning soon. Some good news, though, starting tight end Brock Wright for the short time, or for the next about 3 weeks, is ready to go. He's full participation. He was limited last week, so at least the tight end we have starting now is at 100%. That is good news. Now, for the Giants, they have notable players like Kayvon Thibodeau, Jackson Dart, Darius Slayton, and Deontay Banks, who are either missing practice or are limited. Huge hit to their offense, which they're already missing, possibly Jackson Dart again, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scadaboo. Just a lot of people they don't need to be missing. And I feel like we just got to let Jameis not have this game that he has like once a season where he just goes nuclear. And I'm hoping we'll be okay, right? We're not in the position where I'm saying we're going to run up the score on them, especially after last week's performance and the way the offense has been kind of slow. But I'm hoping we just get a good win and stick to what we know and kind of reestablish ourselves this week. Now, I just wanted to quickly say, both tackles being non-participants and being limited in some days scares the heck out of me, especially for this matchup, and I'll tell you guys why in this next topic right now. We are talking about just some individual matchups, starting with Aiden Hutchinson. While he'll primarily be playing against the New York tackle Andrew Thomas in this upcoming game. Thomas is regarded as one of the better offensive tackles in the NFL and has a very strong season so far. He's ranking 5th in pass protection grades amongst tackles, according to Pro Football Focus. So, I mean, he's the guy who's going to be protecting either Jameis or Dart all night, and I feel like it's going to be up to Hutch to get a lot of those one-on-ones and win them against him. Opposite to him is Jermaine Eluemunor, who is actually ranked reasonably well as also. He's 16th. So Hutch has 2 pretty solid tackles he's going to have to be working against this week. However, like our O-line, their O-line is also dealing with some injuries and inconsistencies right now. Hopefully, Hutch being the main target for these tackles are going to allow guys like Ali McNeil and Roy Lopez to really do some inside damage on the guards. Hopefully, that's the case. That's what I'm thinking right now because it seems like Hutch has actually got a big challenge for him this week, despite the Giants not being insanely good. On the opposite side of things, our pass protection hasn't been stellar as well. The Giants actually boast a very talented defensive front that generates significant pressures, despite the fact that a lot of these pressures don't result in, big plays or big sacks. It's just that they produce a ton of pressures. They're led by Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and they will face a potentially hobbled Lions offensive line because Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell are both limited or out during some of these practices this week. That's what I'm talking about, guys. These guys, the Giants, show a lot of promise as an individual team, but they've been inconsistent this year. But where they're especially good at is the fact that they don't get a lot of interior pressure. They focus on, exterior pressure, getting around. And if both our tackles are going to be hurt for this game and they get going with guys like Abdul Carter, who hasn't had a super loud season, but he was drafted high. He could pop off at any minute. I'm worried that that's going to get out of hand fast, and it's going to affect Jared Goff's ability to be mobile in the pocket, operate in the pocket. I'm just worried about that being a factor here. I think while the guys like Brian Burns, Abdul Carter have generated these significant amount of pressures, their unit has just honestly been hampered by mistakes and inconsistencies. And I think that's honestly what's killing them right now. I think the team is particularly strong when they're rushing four players, and I think that's going to be the main focus of this game. It's a common set to run, but I think it's something that the Lions are already going to know and going to have to focus on, which is actually the ninth best mark in the league in terms of opponent success rate. The scary thing is we just got to worry about those outside pressures, and hopefully our tackles can stand up and stand tall in this game. I think that's going to be the biggest worry. Now, St. Brown versus the secondary. I think if we can keep Goff protected in that aspect, I have a feeling this guy is going to go nuclear this game, guys. Coming off a bad game with only 2 catches and a multiple miscommunications, multiple drops, I think it was an extremely uncharacteristic game for St. Brown, and I think that only means one thing. We know how he operates. We know how his work ethic goes, right? We know he wants to get his get back this game, especially with Laporta being out now. So many more of those small conversions, those third down situations. He's gonna be getting so many more looks now that Laporta is not a factor. The Giants secondary is poor, to be blunt. They're ranked 27th in points per game, 29th in expected points added per game, and 28th in success rate allowed. So, I mean, despite having talented and individual pass rushers, the secondary just does not give them any grace whatsoever. And I think it's led to a below average unit in there. And I smell a bounce back unit or a bounce back game for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think this is just going to be one of those things where he's worked twice as hard this week. He's been locked in all week, and he's been doing his film. I think he knows what he's going to want to do. And I think if Goff and him can get in the rhythm they were kind of missing against the Eagles, this could get ugly. Finally, Gibbs versus the Giants. I want just the Giants because I think Gibbs might have an insane game as well. The Giants defense has been struggling immensely with a few things we've mentioned, but running defense has been their worst thing this year. They've allowed the most rushing yards in the league, and Campbell has been emphasizing how they need to get back to the run, back to their roots this week, especially with him calling games now. I just feel like they're going to run Jahmyr Gibbs a billion times in this game. And I think if our guards can get up into that secondary and really get him a good block on a linebacker, get him any sort of space against that secondary, whew, hold on to your seats, grab your popcorn. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, and that's just what I'm thinking. You guys can let me know what you think. That's going to take us to our third topic of the day. And it's you're thinking this might be kind of a weird topic, a silly topic, but seriously, I think there's something here worth talking about. So the Lions are wearing their all black alternate Motor City Muscle jerseys this week against the Giants. And while this is kind of an odd segment, I just want to reflect how we've been doing with these jerseys. So the Lions had a strong performance in their new black alternate Motor City Muscle uniforms during their first season, going 2-1 in the debut season and 4-1 overall in games wearing them. Pretty good stat line. And it gets better. There's more. They won their first 2 games in black uniforms, including a Monday Night Football game against the Seattle Seahawks, which was electric, and a Week 18 win over the Minnesota Vikings, which secured the top seed in the NFC North in a very defensive, flashy game. It was an awesome game. It just feels like this team plays with a little more heat when they're wearing these jerseys. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just delusional, but it just feels like there's a little more gas going when we wear these. I think the proof's in the pudding. Against the Seahawks, we went crazy. Goff had 292 passing yards for 2 passing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs had 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. St. Brown had that toe tap grab. It was absolutely cinematic. J-Mo and the passing touchdown to Goff. J-Mo had 2 catches for 80 yards, including that one crossing reception that he just took off and left everyone in the dust. I mean, the Vikings, our defense was incredible. Offense played great. And even our loss to the Bills was an insane offensive performance. I mean, you looking at the stats, you'd think we'd crush them, right? Dan Skipper caught a touchdown, which just that alone. Goff threw for 494 yards. Yeah, I read that correctly. And 5 touchdowns. I mean, holy crap, what a stat line for a losing game. And St. Brown, just to top it off, had 14 catches for 193 yards and a touchdown. Even our bad performances in the uniforms, we still get insane amounts of production done. I'm excited to see what we do this week against the Giants. I just think that there's so much going into it. We need our get back game right now. We're going up against a weaker opponent in theory. We're wearing the all black unis, which gets the fellas fired up. Dan Campbell's been firing the guys up all week. He's been talking to the media about that. I think there's going to be a lot of energy in this Lions squad this week, and I'm excited to see what they do on Sunday. That's going to take us to our fourth and final topic. Just discussing some of your comments. Superman24 says, I agree with the paying Gibbs take, all of it. He is up there with the guys like Saquon, King Henry, and they all got paid. But with paying these guys, who's going to be left out? That is the problem. Brad's going to have to keep scouting and drafting well to keep drafting well. Well, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, I think at first my take with Gibbs, just because he's one of the positions that the treads come out quicker than some other positions. Maybe you don't pay him as much as he's going to want, but after further consideration and seeing what he's been doing this year, despite some of our more lackluster performances as a team, he's been awesome, and he's just one of those one of a kind talents, especially with what you can do receiving wise. He's still young. I think just paying him is going to be one of those no brainers. I was definitely wrong in that regard. But yeah, we are going to have to start thinking about who's going to leave. But like you say, and like I said in this video, that's just why Brad's going to have to find these stud rookies, like the Jahmyr Gibbs, the St. Browns, the Jack Campbells. Who else can I talk about? The Sam Laporta's, his rookie season. You remember that? Like, you find these guys to put on rookie contracts, gives us a little breathing room so we can pay our other guys. I really like what you're saying there. Thank you for your comment, Superman24. And finally, Silver Surfer 5970 says, Goff better get on with that pump fake. Yeah, no, I totally agree, Silver Surfer. I think you're totally right here. Yeah, I think Goff, you kind of know when the play's over. Goff will kind of do a pump fake, but he just kind of does this, and then he just ducks a little bit, and you're like, oh no, this play's over. I think a pump fake can benefit him. I don't know if he's capable of doing it, but I think if Goff whipped out a pump fake, it'd be pretty cold. With a pump fake, you also kind of have to shimmy, move in the pocket, roll. I don't know if that's in his arsenal, but I'd love to see him try it out. Thank you so much for your comments, Silver Surfer. With that being said, we are out of time today for this episode. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point of the video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what your predictions are for this New York Giants game. Tell me a score prediction. Tell me who you think is going to be the best player and what we're going to do the best. Just let me know right now, guys. I'd love to read your comments. With that being said, though, enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you in the next video. Go Lions.